So another thing is that please be reminded that your recordings for September will be deleted by this Saturday, noon. I'll delete by noon, 12 p.m. Okay. So for those students who have not watched the recordings, please do so before it's getting deleted. Okay. Right. So okay. Today we are actually going to look at Chapter 8 of Form 4. But before we go into that, there are a few questions that I think I need to discuss with all of you, because there are a lot of students who texted me, but I have not replied because I want to discuss actually during the face-to-face class. So this was actually the question asked by the students, okay? So it's Form 4, Chapter 6, Objective Question 24. So yesterday I've already uploaded both the Chapter 6 and Chapter 7 structured and objective answers. So please do check it, okay? So they say the DNA content of a diploid cell with G1 phase is M. So what is the DNA content of a meiotic metaphase 2 cell from the same organism? This is actually an extremely important question because I have seen this question came out as a graph, okay? They don't come out as a question like this, but they came out as a graph. So if you follow me in Form 4, I have already explained this question once, but if you're new, most likely you have not seen this question before, and if it comes out in exam, it's going to be a big problem. So let us have a look at this question, okay, before we move on to the new chapter, okay? I think this question deserves some discussion. So I'll go to the whiteboard right now. Okay, so now what happened is that I want you all to understand. Let's just imagine that I have a cell. Okay, I want you to imagine I have a cell. Okay, that is, let's say, like this. Okay, like this in G1 phase. So can you tell me how many chromosomes are there in this cell? So this is a diploid cell definitely, because you can see homologous chromosomes. So how many chromosomes are there in this cell? Definitely there are 4. So 2n equals to 4. Okay, now I know if you look at this picture, how many DNA copies are there? How many DNAs are there? So there are 4 chromosomes. How many DNAs are there? How many strands of DNAs are there in this picture? No one can answer this question. The answer is 4. The answer is 4. Every single chromatin is 1 DNA. So in this picture, there are 4 DNAs. All right, this is a very simple kind of thing that you all need to know. This is 4 DNA. Okay, so this is what phase of the cell. I hope you all are not having Alzheimer's or things like that. So what phase is the cell currently in at this point? What cell is that? What phase is that? This is G1. Okay, how I know? Because the cell is currently, the chromosomes are in the form of chromatin. So this is G1 phase. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to put it in a graph form, okay, in which the y-axis is the DNA number, okay, and our x-axis actually is the time, right, or the phases. Okay, so in the very beginning, definitely the line is going to be, let's say this is 4. Okay, so it's definitely going to be here, right? So what phase are we in at the moment is actually G1. Can you tell me what is the phase after G1? What is the phase after G1? Faster in the chat box. S phase. So what happens in S phase? Kita ada penggandaan kromosom dan replikasi DNA, right? DNA replication. Meaning, after S phase, okay, after S phase, actually your chromosome becomes like this. Am I right? Okay, so we still consider this as 2n equals to 4, okay? But then you see that they become sister chromatids already. Sister chromatids, actually their DNA is double, all right? So actually there are 8 DNA in this picture, you have to understand. Even though we say there are 4 chromosomes, but each of them actually has a pair of DNA, all right? So that's why there are 8 DNA over here. So at one point, they'll go up to 8. So let's say this is 8. And what phase is this be? This is going to be your S phase. This is going to be your S phase, fasa S. So after that, you are going to be in what phase? Can you tell me? After S phase, what phase are you going to be in? G2, all right? So G2. So after G2, which stage are you going to be after G2? So they already say the cell is going to undergo meiosis, meiotic division. So we go to M phase, which is specifically, in this case, we're going to the meiosis. Okay, so meiosis starts with what phase? Simple question as that, prophase 1, okay? So in prophase 1, is there any changes in the number of DNA in prophase 1? Well, what happens is that the nucleolus disappears, the nuclear membrane disintegrates, the spindle fibers are formed, they do synapses, crossing over, but generally there's no changes in the number of chromosomes, okay, or the DNA. So it remains at that. So what about metaphase 1? In metaphase 1, is there any changes in the DNA? It's just a phase of arrangement, so there's no changes in the DNA number as well. But what about in anaphase 1? In anaphase 1, the homologous chromosomes will separate. So if the homologous chromosomes separate, the number of chromosomes already half. Am I right? So if you see after anaphase 1, actually your cell already become like this already as a daughter cell after the telophase 1. Am I right, guys? Am I right? So if you look at this picture, this is after anaphase 1 actually, because the homologous chromosomes separated. So how do we label this cell? This is already n equals to 2. The chromosome number is already half already. Am I right? So what about the DNA? How many DNA are there in this cell? How many DNA are there? 4, right? The DNA is still 4. And that's the reason why we need to undergo meiosis 2, because we want to separate the DNA. We want to separate the sister chromatids. Am I right? So that's why you will actually go back to 4, and this is anaphase 1. Right? So after anaphase 1, you go back to 4. Then after that, you will remain at, in telophase 2, in telophase 1, you will still be in 4, okay? And then after telophase 1 is actually your prophase 2. So in prophase 2, you will still be at 4, right? In prophase 2, there's no changes in the number of chromosomes, right? So then after that, you will reach the metaphase 2. So in metaphase 2, there's also no, it's just arrangement, there's no changes in the number of chromosomes, so they will just stick over there, okay? So what about in anaphase 2? What happens in anaphase 2? In anaphase 2, the sister chromatids separate, am I right? In anaphase 2, so after anaphase 2, actually the sister chromatids, the chromatic kembar separate, right? So when they separate, your daughter cell becomes like this, right? That's what you get in anaphase 2, after anaphase 2. So then let's look at this picture. Can you tell me what is the number of chromosomes in this cell? This is n equals to 2. And what's about DNA? The DNA also is 2 copies. Right? So that means if you do anaphase 2, in fact, your DNA actually is half at 2 over here. Right? It's halved. Okay, so this is anaphase 2. So after anaphase 2, you reach your telophase 2. Am I right? So this is actually quite legit, because we do understand that the purpose of meiosis is to make a diploid cell becomes haploid. So 2n becomes n. So this is what you get. This is already what you expected. Normal phenomenon. Okay. So now what I want to do is I change the number. If you have a look at the question again, okay, they say the DNA content of the diploid cell in the G1 phase is M. G1 phase is M. What is the meiotic metaphase 2? Okay, so now what I want to do is very simple. Okay, we go back to the chart. All right, they already say G1 phase is, now I give you an example, it's 4, so I replace it as M. Okay, which means up here is 2m, here is m over 2. Am I right? They ask you, this is G1 marker, they tell you the G1 is m. They ask you what is the DNA amount in metaphase 2. So metaphase 2, what should be the DNA amount? Answer? What should be it? Hello, M? Found that. So students will ask me these questions now. Do you understand? There are about 4 or 5 students texted me, for the same question. So now do you all understand actually how this question works? I have seen this question came out in the form of graph. Okay, so you must know each phase, what phase is that? Okay, and importantly, I just extend this question a little bit. Okay, if I just extend this question a little bit, all right, I ask you, what phase is this? Your answer will be, what phase is this? This one. You see, they go back up to 4. From 2, they go back up to 4. This is G1 phase. This is S phase. So you're all still not strong enough. Cytokinesis, will cytokinesis cause the DNA to double? Will cytokinesis cause the DNA to double? I mean, I go back up and ask you, what is this? Reproduction. Hey, come on, your mutation. Bukan. Fertilization. Oh my goodness. How come you also, after a few weeks, you all forget one? Persenyawaan. Okay, when you do meiosis, you want to produce what? This is actually a gamete, am I right? So it all comes back to the same theory. This is a gamete. So fungsi gamete adalah untuk buat persenyawaan, fertilization. So fertilization, I told you very beginning already. Fertilization means you want to restore the diploid chromosomal number of an organism. So this is what I meant lah, right? Not? So they fertilize, then they will, this is the zygote already. Am I right? So you'll get back 2n equals to 4 for that particular zygote. Then they do repeated mitosis, they become a new life. That's the end of a gamete that is successful. Okay, now guys, I'm a bit worried because if the question quiz, you all will be suddenly haywire already. Okay, you must be able to see, you actually understand already what you all understand, but you all want to be A+, you must be one step ahead. You must be one step ahead, all right? Whatever I say in class, you have to really pay attention carefully, then you can analyze the questions easily. Okay, so I hope that this question is pretty well explained. I cannot explain through this question, definitely. I must explain you on the spot, only you can understand. Okay, all right, no problem. So if the question is not meiosis, all right, there will be mitosis. If it is mitosis, the graph is much simpler. Okay, it's just a hum like that only. So one chromosome, Sachif, chromosome is everything. Everything is a chromosome. Your chromatic lumbar system chromatic is a chromosome. Your chromatin is a chromosome. So don't use the word chromosome. Okay? You must understand that. Alright, are you clear? I hope you guys are clear. Okay. So now we go back to the questions. Another question that students ask me is actually, where exactly is the location for oxidation of lactate? This question, okay, what is lactate? By the way, lactate is lactic acid. Your acid lactate. This is your acid lactate, by the way. Okay. This is actually a K-Buck question. It's not written in your book, but sometimes it came out in objective questions to kill the students. But if you're good enough, you should know. This is called Cori cycle. It's not in your syllabus. Okay. What happened is that the formation of lactate is actually inside the muscle. Inside the muscle. But then the oxidation of lactic acid is done in the liver. I have to repeat this again. The oxidation of lactate is done in the liver. That means the liver is the organ that pays the oxygen back, not the muscle. The muscle creates the lactic acid, but eventually the muscle cannot oxidize it. It needs to be oxidized by the liver. Okay, this is something that you will learn in higher level. Faham? Okay, so this is another thing that I want to discuss with the students. Okay, so over the week, I didn't receive any more questions that worthy to be discussed like that. If the questions are something that I can target, I can talk to you, I would straight away message you already the answers. Okay, if it's something that I believe is quite beneficial for everyone, then I'll talk about it during the class. Okay, so that's about it. How is the lactic acid transported from muscles to liver? By blood. They're transported by blood. Basically, there's no special transporter. They just get to the blood, and then from the blood, they go back to the liver. All right. Okay, so that's about it. Now, what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to start our intensive course. Is there any event that happens today? Because I can see the number of students today is not much. Is there any students? It's just below 100. It's very rare. Halloween month, your hate Halloween month. There's no such thing as Halloween month. Okay, so we're moving on to intensive course chapter 8, form 4 chapter 8. Okay, have you guys have your notes ready? I actually have sent these notes on Tuesday. I hope you all have time to actually got it, the copy, either in hard copy or soft copy. Okay, so this chapter is also another chapter that you shouldn't lose any marks. Seriously. Every chapter, so I say the same thing, right? So supposedly you should get 100 marks in biology, not 100, also 99. Okay, because this chapter also is another chapter that you shouldn't lose any marks. Really, all the questions are freaking predictable one. All right, so let's go through it together. So, of course, the way I teach this chapter is not the same as in the textbook. For me, I will separate to human and animals. So we will settle everything on human first, then only look at the animals, okay? So everything that I'm going to talk right now is about the human. So for human, what are the expected questions that you will see in your exam? You must know your expected questions. These are the questions that you must know, and you'll come out in your exam. Five types only. Number 1, adaptations of alveoli, your penis alveolus. 2 is your breathing mechanism, pernafasan, your gaseous exchange, which is putaran gas, transport of gases, pengangkutan gas, and last but not least is health issues. So these are the only 5 topics that will come out in human questions. If you find the 6th one, you let me know. Basically, these are the 6 questions. All right, and I talk about 6 questions. I'm referring to the questions that will come out in essay or structured. These are the questions. Do you agree with me, guys? These are questions only. 5 types of questions. Okay? So if you can't handle 5 types of questions, I'm very worried about you. This is something so predictable. The way that now my job is actually to polish your answer so that it's presentable during the exam. Alright? So we have the structure of the human respiratory system right now. Okay? Just a very simple one. Sometimes we come out in structured question labelings. Okay, so it's very easy. You have this picture as well in your notes, so you can actually look at it. Okay, the way I look at it is actually from how the air moves downwards. Okay, so maybe we can like sort of do it together. So what is this? What is this place basically? This is quite simple. What is this? What is this? Nostril is here, like the lubang here is the nostril. This is the nasal cavity, or we call it as the longer hidung in Bahasa Melayu lah. Alright, this is the longer hidung or the nasal cavity. Alright, this is definitely your mouth. Am I right? This is definitely your mouth or your mulut lah. Okay, so if you go behind, alright, so what is this? This is what your oral cavity. Ataupun in Bahasa Melayu, we call this as rongga mulut. Rongga means space. In Bahasa Melayu, whatever is rongga is cavity, is space. So after that, what is this? What is this place over here? Do you all know? So it's actually connected to the back of your nose as well as connected to the back of your mouth. What is this? This is not epiglottis. This is actually your pharynx. Pharynx, the layman word for it is actually throat. Okay, so sometimes if you feel like you have sore throat, sakit tekak, actually this is the part that's getting inflamed. All right, so if you open your mouth wide and you shine light, you can actually see behind over here, and it looks somehow reddened. That is your pharyngitis that is commonly happen during upper respiratory tract infection. Okay, so this is your pharynx. Okay, so what is this? What is this? This is your larynx. Okay, so Jeffrey asked how to differentiate pharynx and larynx. Now, it's a different structure. Pharynx is above, larynx is below. Larynx is just above your trachea, actually. This is your trachea, right? So it's just above your trachea, and the larynx is where your sound box is located, your vocal cord is located at. So it's much lower. Pharynx is very high up, actually. All right, so this is actually your larynx. So I really tell my students, when you want to learn how to sing, you say la 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 la. So whenever you sing the word la, you think of sound box, the word you create sound. So that's your larynx. It's much below, actually. It's just above your trachea. Okay, remember Ferrari phalanx. This is not good mnemonics, Achiev. What does Ferrari has to do with the throat, isn't it? Okay, so well, okay, maybe you can remember it that way, but anyhow, continue. So this is trachea. Now you need to understand whatever below your trachea, from your trachea and below, we consider that as lower respiratory tracts. Whatever that is above the trachea is the upper respiratory tract. So most of the time, infections happen over the upper respiratory tract, and that's where you get your flu, sersema, your cough, okay, your runny nose. All that normally is upper respiratory tract infection, and majority of the time is because of virus infection. Okay, so if you say below the trachea, that is already lower respiratory tract, and it's less common than upper respiratory tract. But when it happens, it will be more severe, more serious than upper respiratory tract infection. So the lower respiratory tract consists of the trachea, the bronchi, okay, that you can see over here. These are the bronchus. So we have two of them, one over the right and one over the left. So these are the two main bronchi. Then from the bronchi, they will branch out to smaller tubes. So these smaller tubes are known as the bronchioles. Okay, so these are the bronchioles. And at the end of the bronchiole, okay, at the end of the bronchiole, you can see all this. These are where your alveoli are located. So these are your alveoli actually. Okay. So if you look at the other side, these are all your accessory things that helps in breathing. Over here, these are all the bones. We call them as the ribs. Okay, so in Bahasa Melayu, it's tulang rusuk. Okay, it's a rib bone. Then if you see there's some muscles in between this rib bone, these are the intercostal muscle or otot intercosta in Bahasa Melayu. So this intercostal muscle, we can further divide them into external and internal, dalam ataupun luar, which I will further elaborate later on. Okay, then this is obviously your lungs. Okay, and down we have your diaphragm or the diaphragma in Bahasa Melayu. Okay, so these are basically the structures in a human respiratory system, and the way I present it is from the up to down. Quite simple. Anything that you all don't understand over this picture? Is everything okay for this picture? Okay, I hope you all have already copied down everything. So if you don't have time to copy, it's okay. This video will be recorded and then it will be posted in the Facebook group. You all can actually watch it later to copy back. So is rib and rib cage the same? Rib cage is the whole thing, consists of all the 12 pairs of ribs. Rib is just one bone. So that's the difference. Rib cage is the whole thing, sangka rusuk, the whole thing. Okay, it's like a cage lah. Rib bone is just one of it. All right. So this is the first task. Secondly, we look at the adaptations of alveoli. This question, please don't look down on it. I would say if you master this question, you will actually successfully master two types of questions. One type is actually adaptations of alveoli. Another type is, later on, when we look at the adaptations of respiratory structures in animals, you will notice that it's actually more or less the same. It's actually more or less the same, okay? And you must remember, okay, don't say I never tell you, when you answer adaptations question in your structured or essay question, you must have 2 points inside. One is the structure, okay? Structure. What is the structure? Structure. And number 2 is, how does this structure help? Okay, you cannot just write structure and you expect full mark, tak boleh. You must have 2 parts, okay? So alveolus adalah blah blah blah, untuk blah blah blah. So you must have the word untuk, or in Bahasa English, to. So only you can get full mark. Okay, so if you look at this alveolus picture, we will actually show you 4 adaptations altogether. How many adaptations together? 4 of them. Please, these 4 adaptations are super important. You have learned before, even in lower secondaries. But sadly, I still see a lot of students that can't answer this question well. I don't understand why. It's actually very, very simple. So look at this picture. Of course, the first thing is we can see that alveoli are present in large amount. It's not just 1 or 2. So in your notes, please help to fill in the blanks. I give you in the form of essay question. You can fill in the blanks in the notes that I've given you, okay? So definitely the amounts are large. You can see that a lot of them, okay? And whenever there's a lot, the key is actually to increase the surface area, all right? In Bahasa Melayu, it's a JLP lah, all right? In the English, it's a TSA. You want to increase the total surface area or the jumlah luas permukaan. Okay, so the first one you can see from this picture is there's a lot of them to increase the total surface area for efficient gaseous exchange. Okay, so another thing I want to highlight to you all that a lot of students, they couldn't do it is because they never write this word gaseous exchange. I don't like the word diffusion of gases. Ada ramai students dia suka tulis apa tau, resapan gas. What do you mean by resapan gas? In this chapter, the word that we want is gaseous exchange. What the alveoli do is actually gaseous exchange, pertukaran gas. There's nothing else, okay, that I want to see. So the key word is gaseous exchange, ataupun pertukaran gas. I don't want to see diffusion of gases, resapan gas, all that kind of nonsense. I don't want to see. Okay, only this. So if you see how I do my answering, you can see very clearly I have the characteristic and I have the reason for it. That is how you answer the question. Okay. Another one is something that's very simple. Everyone also know that the alveoli is actually just one cell thing, meaning it's very thin. So whatever in biology that is thin is actually for something to happen fast. Rapid gaseous exchange. Okay. So this is also pretty simple. I hope you guys have already copied down. Done? Are you done? Something very basic. Okay. So if I would like to continue, okay, there are 4 of them. So I just continue. What you can actually see is that why are the alveoli like bling bling like that? Why are they bling bling like that? Because actually these alveoli, they are very moist. Am I right? So they are moist to enable respiratory gases to dissolve. So the keyword here is dissolve and then effective gaseous exchange to happen. Now, this is something very, very important because a lot of students, they don't know. I'm surprised that they don't know. Actually, your oxygen and carbon dioxide, when they get into your body, they are not transported in gaseous form. Right? So do you think that your oxygen in the body is all gases? If it is, then you'll be very light and you'll be able to float. Actually, they are dissolved already. They are in aqueous form. Dia sudah melarut dalam air. Okay? So this is something that's very important as well. It's moist to enable respiratory gases to dissolve and effective gaseous exchange to occur. Alright. The last point definitely is you can see there's a lot of blood capillaries that's surrounding it. Alright. So dikelilingi oleh jaringan capillary darah. The key point is also the same. Menambah luas temukan bagi pertukaran gas. Keyword here pengangkutan gas. Whenever you talk about blood circulatory system, it's always about transport. Okay. So the key point here we transport of respiratory gases. Okay. So Tara asked a question. Sir, I know this might be stupid, but how is the alveolus moist? Is there water on it? It's actually not water. If you're interested to know, it's something called surfactant. Okay, it's actually a fluid called surfactant. This surfactant actually has a lot of functions. Besides helping the gas exchange to happen, it also helps to make it open. There are a lot of functions of this surfactant actually. All right. So the problem is, if you want me to talk a little bit about it, some clever thing is, you know what are pram babies, preterm babies, babies who came out before the wake of 37. Actually, the more early the pram, the more dangerous is it, because at that point their lungs actually have not developed this thing called surfactant yet. So gaseous exchange will be difficult, and a lot of their alveoli are closed. So most of them need some form of ventilation to help them breathe in the first few weeks, depends on how pram you are or days of life. Okay, so the so-called water is actually called surfactant in high level. Hope I answered the question. Okay, is everything okay, guys? All right, okay. So these 4 adaptations I will remind you all again and again later. All right, and now you already know the 4 points and you already know how to elaborate them. So I hope later when I ask back, don't tell me you don't know, please. Okay, so done. This is the first task done. Remember how many types of questions that is possible in your exam for human respiratory? How many types of questions? 5 only. So 1 is already done already. This is 1 of it settled. Okay, now we go on to the second type. So second type is talking about breathing mechanism. Okay, in this case we look at inhalation. In Bahasa Melayu, it's called tarikan nafas. Okay, so let me give you a few points before we go on to the details of it. Let me give you a few points. Point number 1. Okay, this is a buy one free one question. Meaning, if you know inhalation, you know that your exhalation ataupun hembusan nafas, exhalation, is actually just the opposite. So you know the inhalation, everything diterbalikan is exhalation. So it's a buy one free one type of question. So in the exam, you will only expect, they will ask you because these are the same thing. They won't ask you both. They will just choose one to ask you, either inhalation or exhalation. Okay. Number 2, the most important law, you follow me all this while, to know in this is what? What is the most important law that you must understand before we talk about breathing? Not only in human, but also in animals. Whatever, amphibians, frogs, insects, it's all using the Boyle's law. Okay? So Boyle's law. Now we talk about physics. Okay? You don't have to talk about this in bio. Of course, your teacher also forget already, because your teacher, they only know, actually bio also they don't know. You expect them to know physics. Right now. So what is actually Boyle's law? Boyle's law is talking about 2 variables. I hope all of you know. Okay? We are talking about pressure inversely proportional to volume. Betul tak? It's a hubungan di antara isi padu dengan tekanan, in which we understand that it's inversely proportional. Maksudnya, if your volume is high, your pressure is, kalau isi padu bertambah, your tekanan will be low, right? So this is hukuman Boyle's. Am I right? Hukuman Boyle. So why is this so important? Because if you want gas, now remember, another thing is breathing is not the same as gaseous exchange. So please jangan keliru breathing, pernafasan dengan pertukaran gas. These are 2 different essays. A lot of students, they confuse. When they ask breathing, you go and talk about gaseous exchange. When they ask gaseous exchange, you go and talk about breathing. They are not the same. Ventilation is gaseous exchange. Ventilation is gaseous exchange. Breathing is breathing. It's not the same thing. Okay? So, when we talk about breathing, we only care how the air goes into our lungs and how the air comes out of the lungs. Whatever happened in the lungs, I don't care. Breathing is how the air goes in and how the air comes out. That's all. To stop. Okay? So, the movement of air follows the pressure gradient. Maksudnya, the air, okay, will always move from high pressure point to low pressure point. Agree? The masalahnya adalah atmospheric pressure adalah constant. It won't change. You can't change the pressure of the atmospheric pressure. So what you can do is you change the pressure of your thoracic cavity, ataupun rongga thorax, so that it increases or decreases the volume. And by doing so, you decrease or increase the pressure that becomes higher or lower than the atmospheric pressure. And hence, the air can be either drawn in or expelled. That's the principal concept that you must understand first. Okay? Furthermore, what you need to know is that, okay, besides having all this, you must understand is that in inhalation, the things that plays a role are the accessory organs. Accessory, okay? The things are the accessory organs. Meaning, they're not really your air tubes, your lungs, not really, okay? So what are the accessory? There are 2 groups of muscles involved over here. Okay? One is actually your intercostal muscle. In Bahasa Melayu, otot intercostal. So one is your intercostal muscle, which can be further divided into internal and external. Another one is basically your diaphragm. So now the question is, why do we actually have 2 types of muscles? Why do we need 2 types of muscles? Why? Why do we need 2 types of muscles? Kenapa? Why? Can anyone answer me? Why do we need 2 types of muscles? Why can't just use one? Increase or decrease volume, then I use one only, now I need 2. Contract and relax, I ask you, why do I need these 2? Why do I need these 2 muscles? Because if you want to increase the volume, there are 2 ways you can increase it. One is you increase front back. Another one is increase up down. So diaphragm is up down. Your intercostal muscle is front back. Okay, that's why you need these two groups of muscle, meaning their action, the direction they pull is different. One is increasing the volume up down, another one is increasing the volume front back. Okay, so simple. When we want to do inhalation, okay, when we want to do inhalation, ataupun bahasa Melayu tarikan nafas, atmospheric pressure has to be higher or the pressure in the rongga thorax has to be higher. Which one? Simple question. You want the air to come in, right? So outside must be higher. So your PATM must be higher than the P inside your thoracic cavity. Betul? Betul tak? But you know that atmospheric pressure is constant. You cannot change it, right? So can we do something with the pressure in the thoracic cavity? So if you want the pressure to go down, your volume must go up. So that's why whatever we do is to increase the volume. How do we increase the volume? Number one, diaphragm is a very sad. I always tell my students the saddest muscle in the body is the diaphragm. Kenapa? Because in the original state, it looks like a sad shape. This is how the diaphragm looks like. Kita panggil dia sebagai dome shape, right? So what happens is when it contracts, dia akan jadi lepe, flattens, and your thoracic cavity become increased in the volume. And number two is students always confused. They don't understand about which muscle contract you have inhalation. Very easy. When we talk about muscle, they always do contraction and relaxation. Betul tak? In bahasa Melayu, is mengecut dan mengendor. So I just want to ask you, contraction, is it an action of pushing or pulling? Is it push or pull? Contract is pull or push? Is pull. Pull. So now you want your chest to move forward so that your volume increase, right? You want to move your chest forward. So you should pull out or pull in. Pull out or pull in. Pull out. So that's why. So which one should contract? External should contract or internal should contract? Luar contract ataupun dalam? Definitely is external lah. So why so difficult? You try to be logic. If internal contract, how you want to go out? Internal, they pull inside. So this essay is a no-brainer. So after you understand all these concepts, have I touched about how to answer the question yet? Have I touched about how to answer the question? I haven't. All these are the concepts that you must keep in your brain. So you go inside, you already know what to do. Because if you just memorize, you GGWP because you don't understand anything. Go in, mati. Change the question a bit, mati. Okay, so I wrap this off. I put things into perspective. All right. Okay, so these are the basic things lah. Okay, in your notes you get the same paper. Okay, you can actually copy it down again. So your external intercostal muscles contract and internal intercostal muscles relax. You mesti tulis dua-dua because this is what we call as antagonistic muscle. Mereka punya tindakan adalah bertentangan. So one muscle contract, the other must be relaxed. So otot intercostal luar mengecut, dalam mengendor. Okay, this is one direction, front back direction. Correct? This one, the red arrow, front back direction. Another one is this orange yellow, go down. So your we talk about the movement first. Your ribcage moves upwards and upwards. So sangka rusuk ditarik ke atas dan luar. Then diaphragm will contract and become flattened. So diaphragm mengecut dan menjadi lepe. Then you punya isi padu of your rongga thorax akan bertambah, tekanan akan berkurang. But you don't have to say based on Boyle's law, no need, but it's something in your brain lah, you must understand lah. Okay? So as a result, your tekanan atmosfera akan lebih tinggi daripada tekanan di dalam rongga thorax dan udara dipaksa masuk ke dalam paru. So very simple, this thing. But when you explain the question, you must explain in sequence lah. If you've done right, number one, your check box will go to the next page. If you've done okay, so next kita akan pergi ke hembusan nafas ataupun exhalation. So dalam hembusan nafas, you kena faham dia adalah totally bertentangan dengan inhalation. So it's like a buy one free one question. So tadi kita punya otot intercostal external or luar contract. So in this case terbalik lah. So your otot intercostal dalam akan mengecut, luar akan mengendor. So it's opposite, right? So your internal will contract, external will relax because you want to reduce the size. Alright? So your ribcage will move inwards and downwards, sangka rusuk ditarik ke dalam dan ke bawah. Okay? Lepas tu your diaphragm akan mengendor dan melengkung ke atas. Become back to original shape. Faham? Okay, and isi padu akan berkurang because you reduce the size dan tekanan akan bertambah. Then PATP is smaller than PTC. A is forced out. It's opposite. It's just totally opposite. So this is which type of question, guys? Breathing mechanism. Which type of question is this? One, first, second. Which type? This is which type of question? How many questions have we discussed already right now? This is the second type lah. Second type. Okay, this is the second type question. Later you can copy back later, no problem. Okay. Can you all hear me? Just now I suddenly show something saying internet unstable. Can you all hear me? Can okay, this is the second type question. Simple. SPM biology, when you go in, you should be very confident. Seriously, you should be very confident because you already know how to answer all sorts of questions. They cannot twist anything. There's no reason you can get A. No reason. I really cannot think of one reason unless students never study it. You don't need to study, you just need to be with me for these 2 hours only. I don't want the other time you just go and study your maths, physics, chemistry, whatever that you think you want to study. But you just have to spend 2 hours with me. I can make sure that A is yours already. A plus depends on your level of biology knowledge. But A and A minus definitely you can get one. Definitely. I guess 100% because every year my students will get A is 88%. So can your batch be higher? Please lah. Okay. Moral, you cannot study that one, depends on luck one. Okay? So, gaseous exchange. Third type of question, pertukaran gas. And I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, gaseous exchange and also breathing, are they the same? Are they the same thing? No, they're not the same. So please, because I've seen this too much. Students here. Wait, am I lag up? Hold on, suddenly, because, okay, can listen, alright. Hello, can you hear me? Can okay, right. So that's why I must create an algorithm for you all, okay, to make sure you all can understand this. So I call this as rule of two. Gaseous exchange, kita ada rule of two. What is the meaning of rule of two? Number one, kita ada dua tapak. di mana gaseous exchange berlaku. You kena faham. When you see gaseous exchange, you have to be very careful. Dekat mana dia tanya. Ataupun, okay, sama ada dia akan bagi you satu tapak yang spesifik, ataupun dia tak ada cakap apa-apa. Nothing. They never say anything. Alright? Dua tapak. Satu adalah di antara alveolus with the blood. Another one is di antara cell dengan blood. So there are two places. Cell with blood or alveoli with blood. Okay? Two sides. Number two, bila kita cakap, I cannot emphasize this enough. Sorry if I pull out, but I cannot emphasize. Gaseous exchange, dia ada dua gas. Kebanyakan student suka oksigen, tak suka carbon dioxide. So only talk oxygen, GG, your mark is half. Especially bila question ni dalam 4 markah, you tulis oxygen saja, sorry, dapat 2. There are two gases. Whenever you talk about gaseous exchange, you must talk about oxygen and, the word is not or, it's and carbon dioxide. That's the meaning of exchange, pertukaran gas. Are you clear? Okay? And then you must have two sentences. You must have two sentences. Which two sentences? I will tell you later. But this is what I call as Dr. Stevens' rule of two for gaseous exchange, pertukaran gas. Dia ada dua tapak, dua gas, dan you mesti ada dua ayat. Which dua ayat I will explain to you later. Okay? The key word in this part is partial pressure ataupun tekanan separa. So, partial pressure atau tekanan separa, their meaning is, actually what it means is concentration. Kepekatan. Okay? But for gas, it's better if you use the word partial pressure. So you have to be careful. We have to talk about partial pressure in this section. Ataupun tekanan separa. And, okay, deep inside, you should know that in gaseous exchange, we are using simple diffusion ataupun resapan ringkas. Okay, these are some basic concepts that you must know before we go on. Okay, so how are we going to use the algorithm? I will show you right now. Okay, let me show you right now. So, okay, when you are given a gaseous exchange question, you must remember my algorithm. Number one, you must compare the PP. PP means partial pressure or tekanan separa. Okay. Number two, you must tell me about the direction of gas diffusion. Concept is simple diffusion ataupun resapan ringkas. Can we just have a very quick recap? Okay, quick recap. What's the definition for simple diffusion? Apakah definasi untuk resapan ringkas? What's the definition of simple diffusion? We talked about this in chapter 3. What's it? What's the definition of simple diffusion? So now I got another algorithm there. I remember. I tell you this is how we define. Okay, Sachif? Yeah, okay, thank you. At least Sachif still remember. I mean, maybe you are typing. I wouldn't say you all don't know. Maybe you are typing. Okay. So basically, it's a movement of molecules or ions from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration, and you don't need anything. Okay. So basically, it's from high concentration to low concentration. But in this case, you must remember, we say high PP to low PP. Tekanan separa tinggi ke tekanan separa rendah. That's the concept. What? So if they ask if it's diffusion, what? I don't understand your question. Diffusion is what? Everything is diffusion. Osmosis also is diffusion. Facilitated diffusion also is diffusion. Which diffusion? They won't ask the meaning of diffusion. What is diffusion? Diffusion is movement only. No meaning one. Okay? Then you need your Amali God depends on what your experiment is. The way to answer experiment is totally different game already. It's not structured for essay. When you do Amali, you must be doing something, right? So that thing with diffusion process lah. Okay? So we move on. So, okay, before this, I don't open this first. Okay, right, I show you this. So this is the first tapak, the first side, which is obviously in between alveolus dengan blood capillary. Okay, betul tak? So this is alveolus versus capillary darah. Okay, so first of all, this is something that is very easy lah. Okay, I just ask you, if I just give you an arrow like this, okay, that means from alveolus go inside to the blood. So what gas should this be? Should this be oxygen or should this be carbon dioxide? Of course, they already labeled to you, so oxygen lah. Am I right? Okay, and the gas that should get out must be carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is something that we already know already. And we know that the concept they use is simple diffusion. So how do we make the first sentence? How do we compare the PP? So you will say that, so you know oxygen goes from alveolus to the blood, right? So the partial pressure of oxygen in the alveolus is higher than that in the blood capillaries. Meaning the oxygen must be more in the alveolus compared to in the blood. That's why, this is the first sentence. That's why sentence number 2, oxygen diffuses from the alveolus into the blood capillaries. Then you can elaborate as you want lah, to be transported to the cells as oxyhemoglobin or whatever, up to you that one. Tapi these two sentences, sentence number 1, sentence number 2 are a must. Faham ke? Okay, so in bahasa Melayu bisa sing tekanan separa oksigen dalam alveolus adalah lebih tinggi daripada dalam capillary darah. So your oksigen akan membesar dari alveolus ke dalam capillary darah. Okay, are we done? Are we done with alveolus and blood capillaries, guys? Are we done? Are we done? Are we done? Are we done? Sachif say done in capital letter. Done. Are we done? What is not done? What is not done? Yes, we still have a gas, carbon dioxide. This is what I call as two gas. You cannot just talk about oxygen. You must talk about carbon dioxide. Even though the mass is 2 marks, you must also talk about both to show that you are really power. Faham tak? So if you talk about carbon dioxide, it's the same. Terbalik only. Okay. So the partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Okay, you know carbon dioxide go from here to here. That means the CO2 must be higher in the blood, lower in the alveolus, and therefore carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood capillary BC, blood capillary, into the alveolus. Okay. To be exhaled into the atmosphere. Whatever. You elaborate yourself. Or that one is actually up to you. So this is what I meant by two sides. So this is one side. This is the first side. Later I'll show you the second side. So this is called two side, two gas, two sentence. If you look at your notes, there is a page where I never give you specific space. You can just write at the side, I guess. There's plenty of spaces around it, I think. Okay, or later in the next page of page 7, there is a big picture. You can copy from there also. You can pandai lah. Where you want to write? It's your notes. It's your own notes. Just make sure you write it somewhere. Can already. Ada soalan tak student? Okay, you know what's the common mistake? You know what's the common mistake students always do? Okay, can I ask you this question? Am I comparing the partial pressure of the gas between two locations, or am I comparing the partial pressure of the two different gases at the same location? Which one? Can you answer my question? Am I comparing the partial pressure of two different gases at the same location, or am I comparing the partial pressure of the same gas but in two different locations? Two different gas in same location. That means you must be very careful, because this is a common mistake. Okay, if you compare two different gases at one location, maksudnya you are comparing oxygen with PP dengan carbon dioxide with PP. Are you doing like that? Maksudnya you will say tekanan separan oksigen dalam alveolus adalah lebih tinggi daripada carbon dioksida. Is that how you write in your exam? Yes or no? Guys, tell me. Are you going to write like that? The tekanan separan oksigen adalah lebih tinggi daripada carbon dioksida di dalam alveolus. Oleh itu, oksigen akan meresap ke dalam darah. No, you don't compare two gases in the same location. You compare the same gas but in two different locations. Like, you see this partial pressure of oxygen in the alveoli is higher than that in the blood capillary. That means I'm comparing the same gas in two different locations. You faham ke apa yang saya cakap? You don't compare two gas. This is another thing I see. They go and say the partial pressure of oxygen is higher than carbon dioxide. I know this student GG already. How can you compare two different gas? You are talking about the diffusion of that one gas, right? So you focus on that gas lah. Why you compare two gas? But after you talk about the one gas, you talk about another gas separately. You know what I'm talking about? No, guys, ini sangat penting now dalam peperiksaan. Jangan buat mistake ini. That's why I have to highlight to you all. Understand guys? Subject, you understand now? Done? Okay. You understand right now? Okay? Okay, boleh faham apa yang saya cakap. Jangan compare two gases macam ni. Compare macam ni. Okay? So we go on. So tapak kedua adalah di antara sel badan dengan darah. Okay, so the direction is different because obviously you are taking oxygen. So dia konsep sama saja. Even taking oxygen, maksudnya PPO2 dalam kita punya darah mesti lebih tinggi daripada dalam sel badan. So this one must be lower. And then your carbon dioxide mesti lebih tinggi di dalam badan sel compare dengan darah. Faham ke? Okay, then we use back the same concept which we compare the PP. So you see partial pressure of oxygen in the blood is higher than in the cell body, in the cell body, right, in the cell. Okay, and then oxygen will diffuse from the blood to the body cell. You can say by simple diffusion, you can say to be used in aerobic respiration, correct? So you can elaborate. Sini you boleh elaborate now, you boleh tulis lagi. Tapi yang paling penting, these two punya sentence lah. Any question? Now you see, I ask you all first any question. I don't straight away jump to the next part. I just ask you all any question. Page 6, I don't know what is page 6. Later I should go back to page 6. But now you copy this somewhere first. If later I see page 6, I tell you all what to fill lah. Because when I create the picture, it's in my brain. But then the time I create the note and the time I create the slide is a bit different. Later I send you. But make sure you copy this first. Does it occur simultaneously? Yeah, it occurs simultaneously. It occurs very fast, this process. And it does not really need to happen at two different spots. Okay. If you understand, please write letter 2 in the chat box. If you understand. If a question is asked. So this is question type number 3. Third type of question you will see in your exam for this chapter, third type. This is the second side. Yeah, between cell and blood. Second side. First side is between alveolus and blood. This second side, cell and blood. So rule of two sides, two gas, two sentence. Okay. Key point, partial pressure, simple diffusion. That's the thing you need to know for this session. Okay. Then we will go on to the fourth type of question. Okay. So transport of gases. So oxygen, I would say, is considered the easiest of all. Am I right? Oxygen is very simple because we already got something called hemoglobin. Okay, so oxygen basically binds to hemoglobin, they forms oxyhemoglobin. Everyone also knows about this. That's how oxygen is being transported. So this is the structure of hemoglobin. I told you before. If you look at the old syllabus, it considers what we call as a quaternary structure. So there are other 4 chains. Actually, it's made of 4 chains. Okay, if you look at higher level, we got 2 beta chain and 2 alpha chains. Okay, so these are polypeptide chains. And then at the core of each chain, there's what we call as the heme group. And in the heme group, we have the iron. And oxygen binds to the iron. Okay, is this knowledge important? It's very important because later I'll show you something that is a bit different. Okay, so this is number 1. So what kind of question they would like to ask you in this case is they might ask you questions on health implications. What do we call the disease if we have low hemoglobin? Apakah penyakit apabila hemoglobin jadi rendah? What's the name of the disease? Number two, what's the name of the disease? It's called anemia. Okay, anemia. So in anemia, you need to know 2 things. There are 2 things you must know. Number 1, what are the causes of anemia? In your syllabus, apakah dia punya punca? So what can cause your hemoglobin to be less? Tell me 3. I want to know 3. If you are a good student, you will be able to tell me 3. Hurry up. Okay, iron deficiency, that's number 1. Okay, kurang zat ferrum ataupun zat besi. Iron deficiency. The reason is because you need iron to build your hemoglobin. If you have low iron, hemoglobin will be less. That's correct. Okay, less iron, that's number 1. Some more. Thalassemia genetic factor. Can you be more specific? Is thalassemia. Thank you so much. Thalassemia is another cause of anemia. Okay, so thalassemia definitely is a genetic inheritance. It's a deletion gene mutation. Okay, so in thalassemia, your hemoglobin basically is not working properly at all. They cannot bind to the oxygen at all. Okay, another one is, thank you, Elroy, is your sickle cell anemia. Okay, is called as anemia cell subit in Bahasa Melayu. Anemia cell subit. So this one is also a genetic mutation. It's a hereditary disease, and this disease normally happens because of substitution gene mutation. Okay, if you have paid attention to what I said previously, these are 3 different causes of anemia. So if you see someone with anemia, you must look for the cause, because anemia is not a disease. Anemia is a sign. Maksudnya is a sign of a disease. You must look for what causes it and treat that. Okay, so what are the symptoms? Another thing is you must know in the exam, what are the symptoms of anemia that they will ask you? What are the symptoms of anemia that you might have? Okay, yeah, number 1, you might get pale. So orang itu kan jadi pucat. Pale is pucat, right? So you will get fatigue ataupun penat lah. Okay, penat. Okay, yeah, you can get problems like sesak nafas, SOB, shortness of breath. SOB, short of breath. Sebab you punya oxygen tak cukup kan, so you get SOB, especially when you climb the stairs or walk far distance, you will get difficult in breathing. Apalagi insomnia, no pening kepala, not specific to anemia. More specific to anemia is what we call palpitation. This is not in your syllabus. In your syllabus, if you write these 3, you are very good already. But if you're higher level or in general, palpitation, maksudnya you have awareness of your own heartbeat. You can feel your heart is pumping. Normally, like right now, if you're talking to me, I'm talking to you, do you feel your heart pumping? You know your heart is pumping, but do you feel it? No, right? So there will be people who tell you, oh my God, you know, my heart, I can feel my heart is racing. That's palpitation. Because in the patient of anemia, the way they adapt it is the heart tries to pump faster, so they get palpitation. Faham ke? I got a student. Actually, I got 2 students. Their siblings. Their mother was under my care right now. Okay, I mean, not. They came to the hospital. They seek help because of palpitation, but it's not because of anemia. It's a heart condition. So it's very good to see my students back, but it's not good to see my students in the hospital because that means someone is sick, right? Okay. So just recently, a few weeks ago, I was like, Dr. Steven. I was like, who is this person? And after a while, I remember their siblings, both of them, brother and sister. Okay. So any question regarding transport of oxygen? Is everything okay? This is pretty straightforward, no-brainer, very easy kind of thing. Okay. Boleh ah? Tak ada soalan ah? The difficult one is this, transport of carbon dioxide. Betul tak? A lot of students, they don't know this is important. I would say this is a 5-star question. This is very important. Very important. Okay? How important is this? This was my STPM punya question. STPM, not my SPM. SPM, is this in your syllabus? Yes. But it comes up in my STPM question, which I was so happy. Right? Because I tell you, biology is the only subject where your tertiary study and your secondary study is almost the same. If your bio is strong in secondary school, I can be very confirmed that in tertiary, your biology will be as good. Because we're studying the same thing, just deeper, we go deeper. But your physics and chemistry, you notice whatever you study right now, most of them cannot be used. Trust me. Later we go back, you cannot use, cannot study. It's all different. But bio is all the same. So that's why I got this in my STPM question, and I was so happy, and I got my A for biology definitely. Right? So carbon dioxide can be transported in 3 methods. You must remember there are 3 ways to transport carbon dioxide. Oxygen 1 way only, oxyhemoglobin, but carbon dioxide got 3 ways. Okay, let me show you what are the 3 ways first. 1 way they can bind with hemoglobin, but this is not a preferred method. This is actually not a preferred method. Only about 20-something% of carbon dioxide does this. They don't prefer to do that. Okay, so if they really do, they form something called carbaminohemoglobin. Carbaminohemoglobin. Okay, so a lot of students, they find it difficult to understand why is it called carbaminohemoglobin. The reason is, if you look back at a hemoglobin molecule, just now I told you the oxygen that binds to which part of the hemoglobin? Oxygen. Oxygen. They binds to the iron, right? So carbon dioxide, if they really want to bind, they don't bind to the iron. They bind to the peptide, which is this beta and the alpha chain. So this is protein. I told you this is protein, right? Protein punya monomer is what? Apakah monomer untuk protein? What is it? Amino acid. Amino acid. So if you see back the word, which a lot of students tell me they don't understand, I hope now you understand. So the carb is actually the carbon dioxide. The amino is actually meaning that the carbon dioxide actually binds to the amino acid part of the hemoglobin. So it's called carbaminohemoglobin. Does it make your life easier? So it don't have to memorize one. Memorize carbamino, meaning carbon dioxide, they bind to the amino acid on the hemoglobin, which means your carbon dioxide, are they a competitor for oxygen? Do they bind to the same place? Your CO2? Does it? No lah. No, because your oxygen binds to the iron. Your carbon dioxide binds to the protein. They are not competitor. Dia bukan pesaing. They don't pesaing for the thing. Of course, you can form both, but then you must understand artery and vein are 2 different types of gases. So you only have like oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood, right? So normally you don't have both. You understand about Tara? How can you have both? Oxygenated blood have very less carbon dioxide. In your blood, it's not mixed blood. You're not amphibian, you know. You have to be a frog first. You have to form both at the same time. Okay? I hope you understand what I say. Second method is they transport in carbonic acid. This is even less. This is about 20%. The way to remember this is about 20%. This is only about 10%. Very less. Even lesser than 10% actually. Alright? Another method is to transport in the form of bicarbonate ion. Bicarbonate ion is HCO3 negative. If you want to become a doctor, this is a very important ion. Very important. You have to remember until the moment you become a doctor. It's really, really important. Okay? Because nowadays it's still important for us when we do a venous blood gas or arterial blood gas. So it's something that's really important. Please. Okay? You must be good at this session. Okay? This is the way where majority of the carbon dioxide is transported. So it's more than 70% of the carbon dioxide is transported in this way, actually. Bicarbonate ion. But if you actually understand this topic very well, you notice that actually these 2 methods are essentially the same thing. They're the same. Actually, these 2 methods are the same. There is just one difference only, which I'll explain to you later. This is generally really the graph that shows you what happens. Maybe I'll show you in a bigger picture. Okay, so this is a bigger picture. Now, you must remember, transport of the carbon dioxide, there are 2 types of assay. One, it's just like our gaseous exchange, right? There are 2 sites that can happen. One is between the cell and the blood. One is between the cell and the blood. Another one is between the alveolus and the blood. So they're two sides, just like gaseous exchange, all right? So in this case, you can see there are three methods to transport CO2. One way is the CO2, they come out, they straight away dissolve in the blood plasma. So this is actually the second method just now, because when they dissolve, they become carbonic acid. Right? So this is actually the second method that I say less than 10% one. Okay. Another one, actually, they can come in, they go inside the red blood cell, they combine with hemoglobin, forming carbaminohemoglobin. This one is about 20%. About 20% of the CO2, 20% of CO2 is transported in this way. Majority of the CO2 is transported in this third way. So what happens is that after the CO2 come out, they will go inside the red blood cell. You can see they go inside the red blood cell and they will combine with the water inside the red blood cell to form carbonic acid. So now, students, you need to understand the difference between method number one, which is this one. Just now it's written number 2 in the graph. Here I just write number 1. This is number 2. This is number 3. Actually, number 3 and number 1, they are the same thing. They're the same, right? So why the gas, carbon dioxide, don't want to dissolve in the plasma straight away? Why they want to go inside the red blood cell baru dissolve? So legit, isn't it? They can straight away dissolve in the plasma, which is all made of water, but they don't want. They want to go inside the red blood cell and baru dissolve. Why? Kenapa? You all can follow or not? Or blur already? This is very simple, this thing. Because inside the red blood cell, there are the satu enzyme. This is the only difference. Carbonic anhydrase, CAH. This enzyme is called carbonic anhydrase. Later I will show you how it spells. Carbonic anhydrase. So enzyme ini is not found in the blood plasma. This is not a formula, this is just a short form. Enzyme got no formula one. CAH, carbonic anhydrase. Okay? So this enzyme is not found in the blood plasma. So this shows you very nicely. Okay, you see, we studied enzyme in chapter 4. Can a reaction happen without enzyme? Yes or no? Answer me. Can a reaction happen without enzyme? The answer is yes. But can it happen fast or very slow? Very slow. And this explains why the CO2, bila dia dissolve dalam plasma, sangat kurang. They don't prefer to do this. Sebab dia tak ada enzyme. Walaupun dia boleh buat, tapi dia sangat slow. Less than 10%. But then the enzyme dalam red blood cell, dia boleh catalyze, dia boleh membangkit proses ini. So it becomes very quick. So you can see from here, okay, what you see is that the carbonic anhydrase, they catalyzes the conversion of CO2 into carbonic acid sama. Tetapi, carbonic acid ini, dia nanti akan dissociate. Like what you study in chemistry, as an acid, they dissociate into bicarbonate ion. This is our friend. Bicarbonate ion dengan hydrogen ion. So this bicarbonate ion, okay, is where your CO2 is. They are inside this ion. And later on, this bicarbonate ion, they will go out of the red blood cell and to be transported by the plasma until they reach the lungs. Is this understandable? Okay. Do you need nucleus to form enzyme? Do you think red blood cell, all of them don't have enzyme? They might come back later. Okay, so I only talk about the transfer of CO2 for the third method right now. This is about the third method, okay? So later in your notes, there should be some place for you to write in the big picture. Down there, there are 2 boxes. If I'm not mistaken, there are 2 boxes down there. You write this on the left box. Right box is the next page. Okay, so the CO2 dissolves in the water, okay, inside the erythrocyte to form. Sorry, this one is wrong, not bicarbonic acid, it's called carbonic acid. Okay, to get acid, bicarbonic acid, carbonic. Sorry, I made a mistake here. To form carbonic acid. Okay, carbonic acid. Like what you learn in chemistry, like carbonic acid, okay? So it's catalyzed by carbonic anhydrase. Ingat enzyme ini hanya ada dalam red blood cell. It's not in the plasma, okay? So why I write bicarbonate acid? Okay, so your carbonic acid dissociates into bicarbonate ion and hydrogen ion. So your bicarbonate ion diffuses into the blood plasma to be transported to the lungs. Sachif, do you think red blood cells got no nucleus? How sure are you red blood cells got no nucleus? Red blood cell, there are many forms before they become red blood cell. They are all produced from the bone marrow, okay? And there are multiple stages before they become mature. Mature red blood cell got no nucleus, but the one before it called reticulocyte does have. Okay, all this green color thing you don't have to know at your level. Okay, this green color one you don't have to know. This one also you don't have to know. Later when you study in Form 6 or in A level, you need to know about this. This is the only extra thing later. It's called chloride shift. Now you don't have to know. Okay, I don't want to confuse you. Soalan. Does carbon monoxide bind with iron or protein? Carbon monoxide I'll tell you in a while. Okay, carbon monoxide I'll tell you in a while. You understand or not, most importantly. Okay, so we come back here. Okay, we come back to the big picture. Okay, so you see back 3 methods to carry carbon dioxide. One method is this, another method is this and this. So can I say these 2 methods are actually the same? Just that this third method happens inside the red blood cell because they've got carbonic anhydrase. That's the only difference. And actually, essentially, they're the same. But because this one don't have enzyme, they cannot finish the whole process. They only start at carbonic acid only. They dissolve in the plasma, they become carbonic acid stuck there. Okay? Right? So another one is basically the second side. Second side is when it happens in the lungs. So you have to understand that when we exhale, it's basically CO2, right? So they need to, the whole process need to terbalik. Meaning, this essay is actually very simple. What you need to remember is, okay, whatever that happens over here, you just go back 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the key to answer the second question. When you happen between the cell and the blood, you do 1, 2, 3, 4. When you go to the lungs, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's how you answer it. Maksudnya, okay, right now your carbonic ion, okay, your bicarbonate ion will go back into the red blood cell. They will recombine with the H plus, forming the carbonic acid, and then they become back water and CO2. That's why whatever we exhale is water and CO2. So this will be your answer. Meaning the bicarbonate ion, when they reach the lungs, they need to become back CO2. And how they do it? They just reverse the process that happens in the cell. Questions? Questions? Not difficult, this one, to be really honest. It's really not difficult. It's like a chemistry lab, CO2 plus water, aero, carbonic acid, dissociate, H plus, bicarbonate. Bicarbonate goes to the lungs, the whole process reverse. Yeah, you need enzyme also, but you don't have to mention it. I follow your textbook, you don't have to mention it. But actually, in reality, you know enzyme can catalyze reverse reactions. So actually, you need enzyme. But no need to tell her. Other questions? Other questions? Okay now. Cheung is Chewbacca, is it? You change account. Or is it other student? Oh, okay, all right, then. All right, so we go on to the next. Health issues. So health issues is the last type of question already. Okay, now you get first type, adaptation we done. Second type breathing, the gaseous exchange, transport of gases, oxygen and CO2. Okay, now we go to the last one, health issue. So for health issue, in your syllabus only got 3. Okay, in your syllabus we only got 3. 1 is asthma, 2 is COPD. Your textbook has made a mistake. Your textbook says asthma is COPD. This is super wrong. It proves that the person who writes textbook really got no medical knowledge. Asthma is asthma, COPD is COPD, not the same. They can overlap, they can happen together, but they are not the same disease. Okay, so COPD actually has 2 diseases underneath, which is emphysema and also chronic bronchitis. So this is how we should branch it out. So all in all, there are only 3 diseases. How difficult is that? Asthma, emphysema, then chronic bronchitis, and these 2 because COPD. It stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. In Bahasa Melayu also is COPD. Okay, so we go one by one, very simple. Okay, so first of all, we just have a look at asthma. If you really want to look at all these diseases in detail, seriously, 1 to 2 lessons also cannot finish. It's a very big topic. Okay, under the chest, under infection, under our respiratory module, asthma is a very big topic. In fact, we have a CPG, which is a clinical practical guideline in Malaysia to treat asthma. You can see it's already very long. Okay, and then with GINA guideline, you can go and see it's very long. So asthma is a very complex topic. But in your level, we try to make it very simple. Okay, how do we differentiate asthma and COPD? I can tell you, both of them come in the same way. Asthma and COPD, they come in the same way, in which there are a few common symptoms. Maybe I come to here. Come to this. Okay, their symptoms are common actually. What are the symptoms? Number 1, symptoms are number 1, they will get SOB, short of breath. Okay, sesak nafas, definitely number 1, sesak nafas. Number 2, okay, normally they will have some wheezing. Wheezing is when the nafas berbunyi. Wheezing, okay? They can have cough, which is batuk, all right? And sometimes they can have chest tightness. Maksudnya, they feel that their chest is like very ketat. It's not like chest pain, but they feel very ketat. People who have asthma will know what I'm talking about. Okay, so these are the common symptoms. Asthma, COPD, mereka punya symptoms sama. But how do we normally differentiate them? Is asthma normally happens in childhood. Their onset is in childhood. It doesn't mean adult cannot get asthma. Adult also can get asthma, but majority they start from childhood. COPD normally happens in adult. These are all not in the syllabus, but I want to teach you something. Okay. Another thing is COPD is irreversible. COPD is irreversible. Sebab biasanya dia akan ada satu damage agent. COPD dia akan ada satu damaging agent. So what is a damaging agent? Normally the damaging agent will be smoke. The most common cause of COPD is smoking. Okay? Of course, it can be other things like some people that cook at home using arang, it can be some occupational pollutants, but most of the time it's because of smoking, all right? Which harm the lungs. So in COPD, the lungs are damaged. So that's why it's irreversible. The patient will only get worse and worse. You can give them some pumps, they can try to relieve, but their symptoms will progress as long as they don't stop the offending agent. That's for COPD. Okay? For asthma, they have what we call as a trigger. Okay, and this trigger can be anything. It can be pollens, right? It can be cold air. It can be exercise. It can be anything. All right. So that's what we call it trigger. And normally asthma, they don't have long-term damage to the lungs. It's totally reversible normally. So you use the pump, you can reverse it. You can breathe like normal. Okay. So that is normally what we call as asthma. But COPD is normally irreversible. This is the general idea of that. Okay, so they are not the same disease. You must remember they're not the same disease. They're different diseases. In fact, your emphysema and your chronic bronchitis also, they are very different. But now we already don't really separate them as 2 different entities. We just treat a patient as COPD normally nowadays. Okay. So I actually have a student in my class currently. I think she's watching recording. She's actually the daughter of my chest physician in my hospital. Yeah, so in my hospital, I have a chest physician, which is specialized in all this. So I actually learned from her. Right. She's my specialist. Okay. And now, if she is watching the video later, whatever I learned is actually from your mother. So I want to say thank you to her as well. Now I have the opportunity to teach you is because I was a student. Okay. I don't know whether you, I hope you watched the recording. It's my sincere appreciation to your mom because I was her student back then. And even now I'm still learning from her. Okay. So this is a statement for that particular student. You know who you are. Okay. So now we talk about asthma. Okay, we talk about asthma. All right. The idea in your syllabus is very simple. It's because of the the constriction of the airway, your bronchial. So it's very simple. The bronchial wall. Okay. The idea is how you become asthma is because you have your bronchial wall become swollen and thickened. Simple idea. This is your bronchiole, right? Your bronchiole, you can see their muscle tightens. Okay, the airway becomes smaller. So bronchial wall becomes swollen and thickened. This is the idea. But there's not really much of inflammation, I would say. Okay, they can sometimes have mucus as well. So, but then this is very reversible. Very reversible. Okay, so they get narrow airway, breathless. Bronchial wall becomes swollen and thick. Okay. So if you look at emphysema, this is a totally different thing. Emphysema is when the alveoli are damaged. The alveoli are damaged, so you can see they lose their surface area. So the problem in emphysema is the alveolar wall is damaged. So your alveoli are all increased in size, but when they increase in size, their surface area actually reduces and they become less elastic. So when this happens, the total surface area actually reduces, the gaseous exchange becomes not effective, and the patient comes with the same symptoms. So emphysema is a very common question in exam. So you must know about this. It's part of the COPD. So when they're damaged, do you think they're reversible? They're not reversible. They form all this bullae over the lungs, and the gaseous exchange is very poor. Okay, so you see it's different. Asthma is when your bronchial wall becomes narrow. Emphysema, alveolar is damaged. Surface area reduced. Gaseous exchange not effective, but the symptoms are the same. Okay? Chronic bronchitis, you can see the word bronchitis. Maksudnya, there is some keradangan. There is some inflammation happening. So in chronic bronchitis, it's characterized by very thick mucus secretion. The key word actually is excessive mucus. So whatever that you inhale, can be the smoke, can be the whatever, okay, it causes the airway to be very inflamed, and you can see the mucus actually meleleh. Right, so this is chronic bronchitis where you have inflamed bronchial medullary radang dan bengkak, mucus berlebihan, laluan udara sempit, and you get sesak nafas as well. Okay, so in simple terms, in the exam, you are not a doctor. We are not training you to be a doctor yet. So that's why you just have to know asthma is when your bronchial wall is sort of like thickens. Emphysema, alveolar is damaged. Chronic bronchitis, you are inflamed. That's why you produce a lot of mucus. That's the difference. Later, I'll give you a lot of questions in my exercise. You can try to do it. You will see. You will get used to it. Why is asthma so common? Asthma has no really cause. We don't know what causes asthma. It's a type of atopic disease. It might have some genetic predisposition from the family, but it can happen simultaneously, and there is no exact cause how or why it happens. No one knows why it happens. It's atopic disease. It comes with allergies or eczema. They all come from the same family of disease. Okay? So people who have eczema, they normally, some of them will have asthma as well. Somehow they can get it together. So in the very last section, which is section 2, I hope I can finish it within half an hour. We will talk about animal respiratory system. So just give you a very brief outline of what we're going to talk about. So generally, we're going to talk about 3 animals: the insects, the fish, and also the amphibians. And definitely, we are going to talk about 3 things as well: the structure, adaptations, as well as the breathing mechanism. So remember, 3 animals, and for each animal, we need to know 3 things: structure, adaptation, and breathing mechanism. So without further ado, let's go on to it. So the first animal to talk about is insect. So we must first know the structure first. Structure you must know. Okay. So insect punya respiratory system has a very specific name. It's called the tracheal system. Tracheal system, okay? So in the tracheal system, we start from this lubang over here. Okay, there's a lubang over here. This lubang is called the spiracle. Let me just label it. Can you see? This lubang, okay, is called spiracle. Okay, so from the spiracle up here, this tube is called the trachea. Okay, this tube over here is called the trachea. In Bahasa Melayu, these small tubes, actually they are also trachea. But in English, we give it a plural because you can see there are a lot of them, right? All these, they are not the smallest one, but there are some of them. So this one we can actually call them as tracheae in plural. So sometimes you see the word tracheae, it simply means the plural of trachea. So this tracheae, they will further branch up into even smaller tubes over here. This one, very small tube. These are called tracheal. So I don't want you all to make yourself confused. Just 3 things only: spiracle, trachea, tracheal. Settled. Okay? So the next thing that you must understand is, how does the insect breathe? How does the insect breathe? Let's talk about inhalation first. Breathing mechanism, you can use back the same principle as in human. What's the principle? Boyle's law. So if you want the air, for example, you want the air to go in, the red color arrow, you want the air to go in, maksudnya, the atmospheric pressure must be higher than the pressure inside the abdominal cavity. By the way, you should know that the insect is an animal with 3 body segments. So the other 3 again, 1, 2, 3. So this is the head lah. This is the head of the insect. Okay. So you need to understand that the insect only breathes through the abdominal part, which is the middle part over here. Okay, this part. So the spiracle is all here, and then the tracheal system is all over here. That's why the cavity is abdominal cavity. We call it as rongga abdomen, because it's the middle area. Not this, it's the middle. So it's a rongga abdomen. Okay, abdominal cavity. So in this case, meaning if you want to do inhalation, let's say you do inhalation, your atmospheric pressure must be higher than the pressure inside the abdominal cavity. So how do we do it? Like I say, you cannot change the atmospheric pressure, but you can change the pressure inside by increasing the volume. How can you increase the volume? You use the muscles in the abdomen. I always tell my students, this is something that is very easy. Imagine, okay, I have to show you again. This is our abdomen. Okay, now I'm speaking to you normally. Am I contracting or am I relaxing? Tell me. Now, am I contract or relax? Just tell me. Relax or contract? I never do anything right now. Definitely is relax, relax, relax. Okay? If I want to appear to be thin, I will do like this. So my abdominal cavity is reduced in size. Can you see? My abdominal cavity is reduced in size. And to do so, I need to contract my abs. So, putting it together, if you want to increase the volume, like how I did just now, I got show you 2 examples. One is relax, another one is contract. If I want to increase the volume, should I relax or should I contract? Answer me. Relax or contract? Relax or contract? Simple. Relax. So students always tell me they don't understand. Why don't understand? Just like human only, ma. You want to increase the volume, you relax lah. So the abdominal cavity will increase in size, the pressure will go in. So this is how you do the essay, isn't it? Your abdominal muscles relax. That's why your volume increase, pressure decrease. The air will go in through the sphincter. That's all. And then the concept is the same as our human breathing, in which if you know the inhalation, exhalation is just the total opposite. And that's why if you talk exhalation, it's the same lah. So your abdominal muscle contract, your everything is opposite lah. I don't want to talk about it so much. So the first thing we discuss is the structure. Second thing we discuss is the mechanism of breathing. What is the third type of question that they can ask you? So structure, mechanism. The third type of question is what? I tell you, you got no time to copy right now. I don't want to waste time for you to copy. You copy later. You can always watch back the recording and copy later. Okay, I want you all to focus first in the class. Okay, so what's the third type of question? Adaptation. Okay, you're right. The third type of question is actually adaptation. So here, I will give you what we call as another Dr. Steven algorithm over here. This algorithm is for you to answer all the adaptations for all the animals because it's actually the same. Why I say 4 minus 1? Adaptations for human got 4. Can you repeat to me what are the 4 adaptations in human? What are the 4 adaptations in human? Okay, you must know you must have 2 characteristic with how it helps. Now to save time, I just write the characteristic. Okay, so you have your large amount, right? Large amount. Okay, you have your one cell thick, right? One cell thick, or you can say thin. One cell thick means thin. Okay, what else? You can talk about your moist, right? Moist, and then your blood capillaries. These are the 4 characteristics. Okay, all the animals we will use back the same point. So if you don't remember the point, please go back to the alveoli page. It's the same. It's the same. The difference is the structure. The structure is not the same. What it means? Okay, in this case, for the insects, what do you think will be the structure that needs to be large amount? What is the structure that they need to be thin? What is the structure that needs to be moist? Which structure? Which structure? For the tracheal. Specifically, is the end of the tracheal, which is over here. Over here, all this end of the tracheal. Because you need to understand the simple fact, all right? Insect, their so-called blood. What's the name of their so-called blood? Hemolymph, all right? Hemolymph, all right? In Bahasa Melayu, is a hemolympha. So this hemolymph actually is not carrying any gases. Am I right? If you kill a cockroach, you see it doesn't come out blood. It just comes from yellowish fluid. Why? Because their blood don't carry oxygen and carbon dioxide. Why? Because their trachea system is so extensive. Dia sangat bercabang that actually every tracheal is connected to a single cell. Faham tak? So maksudnya, dia punya gases no need to go to the blood, baru go to the cell. Like how we did just now, so leceh. They can straight away go to the cell and come out from the cell. And because of that, the insect no need to use the 4th adaptation. The blood capillary jangan guna sebab insect serangga tak pakai capillary darah untuk mengangkut oksigen. So this is what I call as 4 minus 1. Meaning you can use the first point, second point, and the third point, but don't use the 4th point. Because tracheal system don't depend on the hemolymph of the insect. They directly diffuse. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the key word I want to share with you is the tip of tracheal ataupun hujung tracheal. What does it mean is, you can say large amount, you don't say tip of tracheal lah. You can say large amount, you can say what? How you can make this? You can say the trachea system is highly extensive with many tracheae and tracheal to increase the surface area for effective gaseous exchange. Am I right? Ataupun you can say the tip of tracheal are one cell thick ataupun thin to allow rapid gaseous exchange. Or you can say the tip of tracheal are moist to allow respiratory gases to dissolve and gaseous exchange to take place. So the elaboration, dia punya huraian semua sama. Cuma right now we are dealing with tracheal. Are you clear? So this is the third requirement, which is adaptation. So no need panjang lebar one, guys. 1 mind map, you can see for your exam already. This is the only page that you need. Are you clear with insect? Can I go on to the next animal? Or you're still blurred? I tell you first, this is a very popular exam question lately. Macam mana mereka tanya, they like to compare insect versus fish, insect versus human, human versus fish. AC is abdominal cavity. Abdominal cavity. In Bahasa Melayu, it's called rongga abdomen. Don't say large amount of tip of tracheal lah. This doesn't sound right, right? Just say large amount of tracheae and tracheal can already lah. Why do you say large amount of tip of tracheal? The sentence also doesn't make sense, right? But when we talk about thin and moist, you can say tip of tracheal because that's the place where diffusion happened. Are you following? Actually, wait. You're always the same students who actually write in the chat box. The rest all like what? You're hibernating or something, is it? Or too much of info to digest. Not enough time to copy. Don't copy first. My advice is you don't copy first. You later only copy. Now you try to absorb as much as possible. If I can, I'll upload later. Don't worry. Straight away I'll upload. Later you can design your notes nicely yourself. Nutrients are also transported through hemolymph. So hemolymph only do chemical exchange. They only exchange waste product and nutrients only. They don't do gaseous exchange in hemolymph. Okay, I'll go on to the next animal. So when we look at the fish, it's very important for us to know the structure as well, am I right? So we must know the structure. So this is the gill arch. Gill arch is this V-shaped thingy. So actually our gill, or in Bahasa Melayu, the insang, they look like a V-shaped organ. This is the gill. So over here, this supportive structure is called the gill arch. All right. So gill arch, and then normally what we want to do is we want the water with dissolved oxygen. There's no nose actually. There's no nose for the fish. They will get in through the mouth, and then later on they'll come up through this structure. Later I'll label for you. It's called operculum. So generally this is what happens. I want you to visualize this picture clearly. Water goes into the mouth and comes up through the operculum. There's a gap over here called operculum. Okay. So this is the rongga mulut, or we call the buccal cavity. Okay. Buccal means the mouth. So this is the gill. This one is the gill. All these small things are the gill. And then we have the operculum. Operculum is this lining over here. So if you draw a fish, you draw like this, right? Normally you draw a fish. This is the operculum. This is the mouth. So water will go into the mouth, come out through the operculum. Okay, so normally how I teach my student is, if you follow me through Form 4, I have already teach you this technique. But if you have never, I'll teach you a very simple way to remember the breathing mechanism of the fish. In which all you have to do is, I want you to imagine, all right, you are looking at the fish from the side. Okay, I am not very familiar with this orientation. This is facing the right side, isn't it? I want you to imagine the fish is facing the left side. That means I want you to follow this picture, which is almost the same view, but the fish is facing another side. Okay, so I will draw two circles. I will draw two circles right now. Okay, so this two circle is showing you two different cavity or rongga. The first cavity is the mouth, the buccal cavity, rongga mulut. So this is the buccal cavity, or in Bahasa Melayu, rongga mulut. The second cavity is actually behind. Actually, this picture is like a transparent view. In reality, it's not like that. In reality, only can see the fin. You need to flip the operculum. Baru you can see the gills behind it. Okay, so this is called the opercular cavity. Opercular cavity. Ataupun in Bahasa Melayu, it's called rongga operculum. Rongga operculum. Okay, so in the buccal cavity, there is an opening. So this opening is called the mouth, or in Bahasa Melayu, it's called mulut. In the opercular cavity, okay, there is another hole called the operculum. So the operculum is from the operculum to the in. I don't understand your answer. Your question, Sachif. You're asking something very, very big. I don't know what you're talking about. So basically, if you look at the fish from the side, okay, so you can see this is the buccal cavity, which I refer to this part over here. Okay, opercular cavity, I refer to this part over here. Okay, so now let's just, you must remember the gills are the inside. The gills are inside here. All right. So in the very beginning, you want the water to flow inside the buccal cavity, and the buccal cavity, the opercular cavity, actually they are connected. So some of the water they might come to the gill, but mostly will come to the buccal cavity first because it's the first compartment of the fish. Okay, so how can we do this? Also, we follow Boyle's law theory. Boyle's law is very powerful in breathing. You must remember, you want the water to go in. That means the pressure outside must be higher than the pressure inside. How do we change the pressure inside? By increasing the volume. It's always the same. You want to increase the volume. So how can we increase the volume? Very important. Actually, we need to, number one, definitely, step one, you need to open the mouth. The mouth must open. If the mouth closed, how will the water not come in? So mouth must open. Number two, over here, actually is this part. I label this part. This part actually is called the floor of the buccal cavity. In Bahasa Melayu, we call this as dasar rongga mulut. This is called dasar rongga mulut, or in English, we call this as the floor. Dasar is the floor, okay? Floor of the buccal cavity. So to increase the volume, all you need to do is this buccal cavity with your floor needs to get lower like this. So when the floor of the buccal cavity, the dasar rongga mulut, gets down, you can see your volume actually increases. Can you see? Your volume actually increases already. At the same time, this is second step. Step one, step two, step three, your opercular cavity needs to enlarge. Opercular cavity needs to enlarge. Step three. Step four, operculum. This is, we're talking about inhalation. All this is inhalation. We have not gone to exhalation yet. All this is inhalation. Okay. Step four, do you think your operculum need to open or close? If your mouth and your operculum open together, then there is no pressure difference. The water won't go in. So one open, one must close. So in this case, the operculum, if your mouth open, your operculum must close. So to make the long story short, in inhalation of the fish, there are four things that happen that can be explained by just these two circles. The mouth opens, the floor of the buccal cavity lowers, the opercular cavity enlarges, and the operculum closes. I repeat, the mouth opens, the floor lowers, opercular cavity enlarges, operculum closes. And all this is to increase the volume and to decrease the pressure so that the water can come in. But you must remember, the water are now mostly at the buccal cavity. Only some of them can go to the gill because the pressure is not that high. They cannot go until so behind. And that's why we need to do exhalation for the fish. When the fish performs exhalation, ataupun hembusan nafas, the opposite happens. Maksudnya, in this case, the mouth will close, the buccal floor will raise again, the opercular cavity will return to its original size, and the operculum will open. So this will decrease the volume, increase the pressure, and what happens is that the water will definitely flow across the gill and pass out through the operculum. So the interesting thing for the fish is that the gaseous exchange actually happens when during exhalation, the second step. So this is step one, inhalation. Step two, exhalation. Are you clear or blur? Okay, if you're blur, never mind. I cut this off. Just tell me, inhalation and exhalation, each of them have how many steps? Each of them how many steps? Tell me. 3 only, you don't scare me more. Got 4. Each of them got 4. Let's look at inhalation first. Tell me what are the 4 steps in inhalation, starting from front to back. Mouth open. Yeah, mouth open. Next step. You don't copy anything. You listen to me. Mouth open, then the floor of the buccal cavity to lower. Yeah. Then next step. Go behind a bit. Your operculum need to enlarge. Opercular cavity need to enlarge. Step 4. Operculum close. So this is inhalation. So if you see here, what I'm trying to write is, you see, mouth open, floor lowers, opercular cavity enlarges, operculum closes. All this is actually to increase volume, decrease pressure, so your water is drawn in. I call this as inhalation. Yes, both will increase, Chloe. You're right. Both increase inhalation. So they increase the volume, so the water come in. But the pressure not enough. They cannot go until past the gill. Most of the water only at this point. So the fish must continue to move to breathe. Why the fish need to move? They just need to open and close the mouth. That's why if you see the aquarium in any aquarium, you see the fish always open mouth, close mouth, open mouth, close mouth. They are not talking to you. They are breathing. And you see behind, they always open also, synchronized with the mouth. So if you want to do exhalation, opposite. mouth closed, floor raised, operculum cavity reduced, operculum closed. So we, okay, of course the water will pass through, okay, the water will pass through the gill, they do gaseous exchange, then water exits through operculum. I call this exhalation. So in other words, the fish exhale, the fish do gaseous exchange during exhalation. Faham tak? Are you clear or blur? I don't want you all to, because when you see your textbook, it becomes very, very dull. I want you to understand this. So it becomes very easy, the whole thing. Okay, later you copy. I say I don't copy first because I don't have time to copy first. Okay, later you copy. So adaptation, remember my algorithm just now? Okay, this one you can use all the four. You can use all the four, meaning moist, definitely moist in the water, isn't it? Your large number, okay, your thin or one cell thick, okay, your surrounded by capillaries, all can use. All can use. So you just have to know the structure. So imagine this is the gill, all right? This is the gill arch, actually, this is the gill arch. So all this is there are two structures you must remember. Sub two is filament, gill filament. And another one is lamellae in plural. Singular is lamella. Okay, in Bahasa Melayu, single L. So lamellae is all these smaller branches from the filament. So how can I say? I can say, if I want to talk adaptations, I can say the fish has many filaments and lamellae to increase the surface area, blah, blah, blah. I can also say the fish lamellae are one cell thick for rapid gaseous exchange. Or I can say the fish gills are surrounded by blood capillaries. You can see this is the blood capillaries. Blah, 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 blah. Moist, normally you don't put as the first for the fish because it sounds very stupid if you put moist. The fish is in the water, of course it's moist. So this is the third section. So 1 is the structure, 2 is the process, 3 is the adaptation. In your notes, I give you enough space, you can write down yourself again to remind yourself how to write. If you have a problem, come and ask me. I want to give you the theory, the technique, how to do it. On land, because of the pressure, it will normally cannot breathe, it will collapse. Okay, so now we will move on to the last one, which is amphibians. So the theory is almost the same, all right? We look at the structure first. So the first one is the glottis. Glottis is very important. It's actually in the middle between the lungs and also the mouth. So this glottis, okay, can be open, can be closed, all right? So another one is nostril. The nostril of the amphibians also can be open, can be closed, all right? Another one is this place over here. It's called the buccopharyngeal cavity. In Bahasa Melayu, they just call this as rongga mulut. I don't know why. But in English, we call this as buccopharyngeal cavity. What it means is, okay, actually for the amphibians, they don't have neck. So their mouth is connected to their throat. So that's why it's called buccal, which means the mouth, pharyngeal, which means the throat. So buccopharyngeal. Okay? So, pharyngeal, just like I told you in the beginning, it means the throat, isn't it? So buccopharyngeal cavity is the space over here. Okay? And these two air sacs, very thin one, is called the lungs. Basic structure. Okay? So the amphibians and also the fish, the way they breathe is almost the same. It can be explained by the same way. Okay? But then the only difference is amphibian bunya inhalation. The difference is amphibian bunya inhalation got 2 steps. That's the only difference. So I want you to imagine the first circle is showing you over here this part, which is your buccopharyngeal cavity. Just write it short, BPC. In Bahasa Melayu, stick it with rongga mulut. Follow your textbook, rongga mulut. Okay? So over here, this is not the mouth anymore. In this case, is the nostril. This is the nostril. Okay? And then behind here, this is glottis. In Bahasa Melayu, single T. Okay? And then right behind is your lungs. Okay? Right? This is your lungs. So, inhalation got 2 steps. Very simple. Same concept, Boyle's law. If you want to do inhalation, pressure outside must be high, pressure inside must be low, so the volume inside must be high. So how do we do it? Very simple. This place, we also, just now remember when we talk about the fish, this is called the floor of buccal cavity. So in amphibians, we call this as, this is the floor of the buccopharyngeal cavity. In Bahasa Melayu, it's the same, dasar rongga mulut. So this is the floor. Same, you want to increase the volume, it must go down. Okay, the floor must go down, lower the floor, and then your nostril must open. If not, how the air will go in, isn't it? Your nostril must open. Okay, so the air will go in like this. Okay, but remember, the glottis will close in the first step. Glottis close in the first step. So I repeat, the 3 things that happen in the first step of inhalation for amphibian: nostril open, the floor of the buccopharyngeal cavity lowers, and number 3, the glottis will close. Why they do this is because they want all the gas to focus inside the buccopharyngeal cavity dulu, so that later they can straight away one shot push all of them into the lungs. So the step 2 of inhalation is the opposite of step 1. Maksudnya, they will close the nostril, raise the floor, and open the glottis. So these 3 actions that are labeled in red, what they do is they will actually increase the pressure in the buccopharyngeal cavity so that the air can go into the lungs where gaseous exchange takes place. So this is the difference between fish and amphibian. In the amphibian, there is something in the middle to block them. It's called glottis. So the inhalation is 2 steps. And the 2 steps are opposite of each other. So it's very easy. So they store the air all in the buccopharyngeal cavity, then the galligos push into the lungs. Okay? And then in exhalation, it's even more easy. For exhalation, you just have to mention that the lungs will contract. Because when the air go in, the lung will expand. It's like a balloon and the lung will expand. So when you do exhalation, you just say the lung contract, the air comes out. That's all. Very simple. So when I put into perspective, this is what I would say. So the buccopharyngeal floor lowers, glottis opens, glottis opens, glottis close. Okay, just now I actually copy the thing so it becomes like this. So glottis closes, glottis tutup, nostril open. This is the first step of inhalation. I will call this as step 1A. Okay, first step of inhalation. Then the air is drawn in, but mostly in the buccopharyngeal cavity. All right. Then the nostril close, glottis opens, and your buccopharyngeal floor will raise. This is what I call as step 1B. That means it's inhalation, step 2. All right. So once the air goes inside the lungs, okay, you will see that the air is pushed into the lungs. So gaseous exchange will take place. So your lung, this is exhalation. Also, this is step 2, exhalation. So your lung contract, then you just say the air is exhaled. That's all. So when the lung contract, the glottis must open, the nostril must open, so they can just flow out. This is exhalation. Very simple. So mostly for amphibian, they like to ask is inhalation. Inhalation. Are you clear, guys? What I say actually? You know what I'm talking about now? I hope I'm not, telling something that is alien to you. Faham, ah? Okay. Okay. I know some of you have classes later. You can leave first, but remember to watch back the recording later. So what I want to do right now is I just want to quickly go to the last part before we go. Is the penyesuaian or the adaptations of amphibians. So amphibians is a 双栖动物. They can live in both land and water. Okay. So you must know that they have two breathing structure. One is actually the lungs. Another one is actually the skin. The idea is normally the skin. Okay, the skin. They mostly breathe through the skin when they are in a passive state or dormant state. When the frog is not active, they normally like to breathe through the skin. Okay, this is normally in a passive state, I would say. Okay, the lungs I have already shown you just now. Okay, so the idea is I just draw the lungs. The lungs of the amphibians inside actually got a lot of compartments. If you can't open, you see inside got a lot of like small rooms. Okay, so for the lungs, you can use back all the 4 adaptations of the human, which is the moist. You can say the lung membranes are moist, blah blah blah. You can use large number. In this case, the large number is the compartment. You can say the lungs are divided into many small compartments to increase the surface area, blah blah blah. Number 3, you can say the lung membranes are thin to allow rapid gaseous exchange. The lungs are surrounded by network of blood capillaries, blah blah blah. So all the 4 points can be used. Just you have to modify your sentence lah. Okay, don't be too rigid. For the skin, okay, you can say it's moist. You can say it's thin. You can say it is underneath the skin got a lot of blood capillaries. But please don't talk about your many, like the large number, because the skin only got 1. Don't say large number. So use these 3 as the adaptations. Okay. Semi-permeable, no need to write semi-permeable. No need. You can say the skin has large surface area lah, but the idea is why the skin has large surface area. Why? What's the point that make it to have large surface area? You understand? You must have some large surface area is never a characteristic. Large surface area is because of something. Either something is highly folded or something is large number. So how you want to explain the large surface area in this case? Of course you can write, but how you want to support it? That's the problem. So if you want to write, maybe you write as number 4 lah. Don't write as the first 2 or 3 points, especially in structured question. Wow, damn tired. Okay, I just came back from a conference today, actually, very tired. So I hope you all learned something today for chapter 8. I covered everything, all right? So do the exercises, please do the exercises like I say, all right? The recordings, you have to watch back and then fill up the notes nicely, up to your own creativity. But whatever I presented today, I think will come up in your exam, definitely for chapter 8, okay? So if everything is okay, next week come back to the class, I'll teach you about chapter 9, all right? Where we'll go to the digestive system, okay? Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoy the lesson. Bye-bye. I'll see you again next week, all right? Thank you.